There are days you remember in exact detail. This is one of mine. I didn't wake up knowing it would become a dividing line in my life, but it did, certainly did. Welcome back to season 4, talking about marriage and the invisible transitions. Oh, this is a chapter that is hard for me. It's one of the harder ones, but it is part of the story, so I'm still going to tell it. So it's about miscarriage and those invisible transitions that go into that. If you listened to what I talked about before, how the dating went, how the proposal or being a fiancé went, and how the marriage went, and the being apart for very long seasons. Yeah, and so also finding out in the just immediate last episode where I talked about the pregnancy and finding out and going into this space where my mind is already imagining baby names, the sex of the baby, cribs, and many, many, many things, because it was a time that I was also waiting to join my husband after marriage. So need a little bit of a pause. Just trying to recollect myself here. So it was a very early morning. It was a Saturday, about 3 a.m. I'm woken up by a very sharp pain in my lower stomach, and it felt unbearable. And I think that's when I realized, oh my God, this is what being in labor feels like. But I was about maybe 16 to 18 weeks. So really, there was no expectation of the baby coming anytime soon. That took me by surprise. So I just thought might have been something wrong. So at the time I was in Nairobi and I was living with my brother. So I knock on his door and I told him I feel a certain way and I think I need to go to the hospital because I'm in so much pain. So he says, okay. So he rushes back to go and prepare. I'm also like, I need to get out of my pajamas into different clothing and go. And suddenly he comes out of his room, maybe after 5 minutes, and I'm also done with everything. And we're leaving, and at the door, as he tries to open the door, the pain just goes away. And like, oh, the pain has gone away and I don't feel it anymore. And he's surprised just as I am. And it's like, what do you want to do? And I say, okay, I feel like maybe we should watch because it might not really be, because I'm really still far away from any signs of labor pains. So we both decide, okay, we're just going to back to sleep and monitor how we feel. So we both go back to sleep. I really didn't sleep much, and in the morning everybody wakes up, everyone is preparing to go to church. They go to church, and I'm left in the house with the house help. I really didn't feel like going to church that day, so I wake up around 9 or 10, and I'm going to the kitchen to get something to eat for breakfast. And suddenly I feel a rush of warm liquid down from my vagina, and it looks a little bit yellowish, and I'm shocked and I'm looking at it this way, and the house help was cleaning the floor and she had just cleaned that area and was just a little bit further, and I look at it, the shock on my face, and she looks at it, the shock on her face, and I think we burst out laughing, and she says, "Oh, you peed on yourself," and I'm like, "Seems like I did, and how weird is that?" Anyway, that is one of the strangest things that I've ever experienced. So it doesn't startle me much. I just think, okay, maybe this is what some pregnant women go through. I don't know. So the day goes by, my sister-in-law comes back with the kids, and I tell her what happened. I was in pain in the morning, it went away, and then when I woke up and I was going for breakfast, suddenly I had, I peed on myself. That's exactly what I tell her. And she's like, that's strange. I've had 2 pregnancies and I don't remember peeing on myself ever. Strange. Strange, strange, strange. So, we talk because she's the only person who's been pregnant before that I can talk to there, and she tells me that's not very normal. So we decide, okay, let's figure out how to get to a gynecologist as soon as possible, because we just need to check if everything is okay. So she connects me with her own gynecologist, and we get an appointment for Monday. Makita was a Saturday evening. So, oh no, we didn't get an appointment. I was just given referrals, but when I called, there was nobody picking the phone. So we told ourselves, okay, Monday is coming. Let's wait until Monday. That's when we can probably find a gynecologist. So Monday, first thing in the morning, we called the gynecologist, and to our, we were blessed, or whatever you want to call it. We were lucky to have an appointment that day. So I go to the hospital, to the clinic, and she asks me what happened, and I explained. And she's like, anything happened during the weekend? No, just home. Yeah, pain. No. So she takes a look physically with her hands, and then says, I need to go for scan. What is a scan? Yeah, the scan, the one that they do when you're pregnant. So I go for the scan, and I go back to her with the results, and she tells me, unfortunately, the baby is not viable anymore because I lost all my amniotic fluid, and the baby is very, very tiny. 16, 18 weeks, cannot. She's not sure if I'll be able to get good enough amniotic fluid to keep the baby alive. So my option is to do a DNC, an abortion, if you want to call it that, because there was no way the baby was going to survive. And I ask a few questions. I mean, what happened? She says, looks like you might have had preterm labor, and that is what caused the amniotic fluid. So your water broke because of the preterm labor. And I asked, there's no way we can wait, drink a lot of water, do whatever it takes for me not to not to lose the baby? And she's like, we can keep you in the hospital for about a week in a certain position, but it's not guaranteed. At this point, it's just one option. And so that tears my heart into pieces. That I don't know. Looking back, many times I try to ask myself, would I have done something different over the weekend? Would I have I don't know. But what I remember is noticing something was not right, but trying to stay calm. You really don't know what's going on, and I was trying to tell myself there's probably nothing. I'm just holding on to hope. Remember, I talked about hope being very fragile. So yeah, we had to do what had to be done, because either way the baby was going to die, and then other things would then come after, infections and all that. So the baby had to be removed from my womb. I don't know about you, but I think I believed until that time that if something began with joy, it definitely end with joy. That began with a lot of joy for me, and I had created this fantasy in my head about it, and I thought that it was still going to end in joy, but that didn't happen. You know what? Life doesn't move in straight lines, and neither does motherhood. I've learned that because now I have 3 kids. I would go on to lose another baby at some point. I'll talk about it later. But I also realize that loss is not just about what you lose, it's about who you are already becoming. I had already started becoming someone's mother. I had already started imagining what it was going to. I had already actually bought some gender neutral clothes, you know, the whites, the grays, the reds. And yeah, because I was already approaching mid second trimester. So that was really a hard time. I thought the hardest part would be the physical pain, and I just didn't realize the emotional aftermath would linger longer. I didn't realize how differently also my husband and I would experience that grief. It's I've learned a lot. I've learned quite a lot. I will tell you more as we go ahead. It's not the end of this one. I did want to share it at once. If you've walked through pregnancy loss, I know it's a very sensitive topic, but I also like to normalize certain conversations so that the weight of it becomes lighter and we can acknowledge what it took from us, and we can acknowledge the feelings we felt, and we can put it to rest, though still knowing how much it affected us and how we transitioned from this person into another one. I want you to know that you're not alone here if you walked through that. You can share as much or as little as you feel safe sharing in the comments. And if you're following this season, please subscribe and come back tomorrow. In the next episode, I'm talking about what grief did inside our marriage, because it definitely did something. See you tomorrow.